the problem?
I guess it could be Ocean. It's OE, Ocean. Damn it. I guess we'll have to do Ocean.
Okay.
We're just going to have to guess. We're just going to have to guess, Mike.
History, they say, is written by the winners.
Ah. Took the roulette travel. What is truth? History, they say, is written by the winners. Oh, Vivian.
Can you give me hold on.
Oh, please. You get it off with this one.
Send us the last thing that's not yet.
I'm trying to call it off.
Do you have a picture?
Yeah.
Do you have any?
Yeah.
That's what you need. You need a good picture.
Nope, ship shape.
Make sure you preface that our game clock, not official. Quick.
Not really. I do. I think I hear myself. Yeah. I think I hear myself. Are you getting me? Check, check, check. 99, 98, 97, 96, 95, 94, 93, 92, 91, 90. Yeah, I got myself now. Check, check, check. Hmm? Yeah. It's Week 7 in the Women's Football Alliance, and as this penultimate week on the schedule dawns, many games start to take on a decided playoff feel. And so it is in our matchup tonight, as the Cali War play host to the Minnesota Vixen. And we are moments away from opening kickoff. The War, in the home black jerseys, will have it first against the visiting Vixen in their road white jerseys. Here from St. Bernard High School in Playa del Rey, California. Game time temperature of 65 degrees and a crosswind at 11 miles an hour that should have something of an impact on this game as well. Figure that to be a factor perhaps in terms of throwing the football. We'll talk about some of the playoff scenarios in this game that takes on tremendous meaning as this regular season winds down. As we get underway, high end-over-end kick will take a bounce, taking it about the 10-yard line. Working to the near side, Alyssa Williams on the return, forced out of bounds past the 30. So a solid return will set the War up with good field position as we're just underway. For the War, they come in with a record of 4-1 on the season. This, their final regular season game for the season. They have a bye next week in the final week of the regular season. And for the War, the meaning of this one fairly straightforward. They are firmly in the playoffs. Win or lose here, the War will be returning to the postseason, one would believe. But certainly tonight, if they can get a win here, they will almost assuredly wrap up a home date in the opening round of the playoffs. How important is that? Well, the last couple of years, the War have had to go on the road to take on the St. Louis Slam in each of the last 2 years. And in each of those last 2 years, they have come up a little short and gone home after the opening week of the playoffs. They would love to get a home date here at Playa del Rey. The end around, they immediately get the ball in the hands of Brianna Barrett, and Barrett has some running room into the secondary. Ran into her own man. That slowed her momentum just enough. Nonetheless, Barrett into Vixen territory at the 46. It's a gain of 22 for Brianna Barrett, who comes in, to say on a tear doesn't even begin to do it justice. Over 500 yards over the last 2 weeks on the ground for Brianna Barrett. She's gone for 240 plus in each of the last 2 weeks for the War, and she has pulled way out in front, leading the Women's Football Alliance Pro Division in rushing by over 300 yards now as we enter Week 7. So Barrett has turned into a dynamic playmaker even more as this season has gone on. And you keep an eye on Brianna Barrett, who lines up out to the left, an immediate first down in Vixen territory for the Cali War. They'll keep it on the ground. First carry for Sean Caldwell, tries the left side, but she has stood up and driven back, a loss of a yard on the play. Meanwhile, for the Vixen, they come in at 2-2 on the season, and that's in a 5-way tie in the Pro Division at that 2-2 record. But due to an almost comically tough schedule, as we do have a player down for the War near the line of scrimmage, but starting to get to her feet, so it's a good sign. It's Brianna Irby, the left tackle, and Irby standing up on her own, so obviously that's a great sign. Loss of a yard will leave us 2nd and 11. So right now the Vixen are in the 3rd spot in the current playoff projections with that insanely tough schedule. And of course, seedings are determined primarily by the Massey rating in the WFA. So that obviously gives the Vixen a considerable bump. The 2 losses this season are both to the undefeated St. Louis Slam, the defending champions. And you factor in this matchup at the War, and it doesn't get any easier for the Vixen. So right now, they are in the playoff picture no matter what, and right now they will be in the 3rd spot. But there is a scenario for Vixen fans where a problem perhaps could develop. You look ahead to next week for the Vixen. Should they lose here, next week they take on the Nebraska Pride, a somewhat surprising Pride team with 3 wins in a row, currently sitting at 3-1. And so if the Vixen fail to get a win here, stumble next week, all of a sudden they finish at 2-4, and even with that Massey rating, is that enough to make the playoffs? You don't know. You just have to wait and see. But suffice it to say, this is a big risk-reward for the Vixen this week. Should they lose here and lose next week, maybe they're on the outside looking in. If they get a win here this week, all of a sudden, maybe they're hosting a playoff game in Adena. So a great opportunity for the Vixen 2nd and 16 after the penalty. Quick pitch, they'll try Caldwell again, running right. Strung out, and Caldwell going to do well to perhaps pick up a yard. Courtney Cullen among the first to get there, as the Vixen, after giving up that run to Brianna Barrett on the opening play, have stiffened defensively and now now have forced a 3rd and very long from the War 49. Chantel Wiggins back at the controls for the War. Played sparingly, didn't play at all last week in the win at Houston. Lofting on the far side, incomplete. Was looking for Nori Washington out of the backfield, but excellent coverage from Amanda Dvorak. Two-way player. I believe that was Jocelyn Tanner over on the far side. Outstanding linebacker for the Vixen. Well, I believe I've lost it down. No, it is going to be 4th down. 4th and 15 from the 49. And the War going to line up to go for it with Barrett in the deep I behind Wiggins. I mentioned Wiggins didn't play last week, struggled in the previous week. Did Chantel Wiggins. In the win against the Nevada Storm, went just 1 of 5 for 7 yards, sharing time with Tanya Guzman at that quarterback spot. But before that, Chantel Wiggins had an outstanding 2-week stretch in victories over the SoCal Magic and the Mile High Blaze, where Wiggins connected on 76% of her passes for 5 touchdowns against just 1 interception. So Wiggins, a veteran signal caller. And it can't be too easy to work in this system that uses 2 and sometimes even 3 quarterbacks on a week-to-week basis. Your head coach, Jason Grant. But Wiggins has excelled, completing over 60% of her passes on the season. In fact, 67%. All right, so ready to go. 4th down and 15. Keep an eye on Barrett in the deep I. Vixen showing blitz. Here they come. They pitch to Barrett. Running right. Able to stiff arm a tackler. Forced out of bounds, well short of the 1st down. A gain of about 6 yards for Barrett. Shy of the 1st down. And the Vixen hold defensively on the opening possession, and they will get the football in good field position out near midfield. They'll spot this at the Vixen 48-yard line. So we'll get our first look at the Vixen offense, led by 2-time All-American Erin Kelly. And this highlights what figures to be a fascinating part of this matchup, is that veteran leadership from Erin Kelly against this big play defense for the Cali War that relies so much on their ability to force turnovers and create short fields, if not defensive touchdowns. But arguably, nobody does a better job taking care of the football than Erin Kelly. 1st down, handoff to Shy Rhodes, and Rhodes finds some running room on the right side, has the 1st down and more. She slips out of a couple of tackles, finally forced out of bounds inside the War 40. Running on that right side behind Sammy Kraus and Marissa Akensai. Well, the War last week in the big win at Houston rolled up an old school Big 8 stat of over 450 yards rushing in a 52-6 win. But this Vixen squad excels running the football as well. In fact, in a loss to St. Louis, they still rushed for over 200 yards as a team against the undefeated Slam. Rhodes picks her way forward, finds some running room, slips out of another tackle. And Rhodes near the 1st down marker again. Clock on the move, and you get a look at the work of Shy Rhodes. Rhodes, in just her 4th year at the tender age of 35. But she has developed into a lead back, and just in time due to some injury struggles at that running back position. 10:30 and counting remaining here in the opening quarter. Rhodes continues as the single setback. They send a man in motion. Rhodes straight ahead. And drives forward for a gain of about 5. Setting up a 2nd down and 5. Really moving that pile. Again, working behind her center, Cecilia Barbacook. And a great push up front. Meanwhile, we do have a player down for the Vixen. Sienna Ford getting to her feet. First time out. I mentioned briefly some of the injury troubles for the Vixen. Juliana Fermolin, one of 3 running backs that handle much of the workload in the backfield, lost to an ACL injury last week. And Fermolin actually had the most carries on the season for the Vixen, but Shy Rhodes is developing into a superstar at just the right time. 11 carries for 177 yards in a victory against the DC Divas back on May 17th. Pass incomplete on the near side. Rhodes followed that up with 129 yards on the ground on 14 carries in the loss at St. Louis. First passing attempt, and looking for her leading receiver, Jackie Radford. Second down, should say 3rd down and 5 for the Vixen. And Paige Kuplick into the backfield. Play action, Kelly guns on the far side, catch is made, good for a 1st down. Finding Hove on that quick out. Caitlin Hove with the reception. Brought down quickly by Sanfre Roberson, but not before Hove has enough for the 1st down. And the Vixen into the red zone. These teams last met back in 2023. That was a 35-32 win for the Vixen in Adena. Now they switch here to Playa del Rey. But the Vixen off to a quick start. Kuplick straight ahead. Caldwell there quickly. Perhaps a yard for Paige Kuplick. You see Caldwell off the edge. Getting there very quickly. 2nd down and 9. Football resting on the War 5-yard line. Kuplick remains in the backfield, receivers left and right for this 2nd down play. Snap to Kelly, quick slant over the middle for a touchdown, back to Radford. Jackie Radford getting the inside position, and we'll take a look. In the slot on the right side, and Kelly able to find Radford for the 5-yard touchdown pass. So the Vixen take advantage of the short field, starting at their own 48. And they take it 52 yards for an opening touchdown. 9th touchdown pass on the season for Erin Kelly. And for Jackie Radford, her 7th touchdown reception. 7:56 remaining in the opening quarter, and the Vixen have grabbed the 7-0 lead. You're watching the Women's Football Alliance. Vixen on top, 7-0. Short kick. And Barrett takes it on a good hop. Out to the 25, at the 30. Barrett looking for a lane, picking her way forward. Out near the 40 and finally stacked up. They'll spot it at the 39. A return of 24 yards for Brianna Barrett, and I think the Vixen will take that. Brianna Barrett with 18 touchdowns on the season on 72 offensive touches. Just an absurd number of scoring every fourth time she touches the ball. And that will be the challenge for this Vixen defense that comes in a little bit banged up. Injuries in the secondary to Chloe Anderson and Caitlin Hill, as well as losing leading tackler Emily Sampson for this week as well. So it's a Vixen defense that is running a little short, but so far they have the 7-0 lead. They got the stop on the opening possession, and now the War back to work from their own 39-yard line. I formation backfield. Looking for the quick throw. Again, they want Barrett. And Barrett, with the catch behind the line, able to shed one tackle but just get back to the line. Might have picked up a yard. Getting there was Courtney Cullen once again. Cullen, I believe, had the tackle on Barrett's first carry as well. And you wonder if that's not a matchup that we'll be watching throughout the night. Certainly against the War, you have to locate Brianna Barrett on every play. And so far, the Vixen have done the job. Barrett with just 3 catches last week for 25 yards, but has really started to take over in the running game specifically after spending much of her time over the first couple seasons primarily as a receiver. Long pass incomplete, looking for Williams, and Williams for just a moment was open, but Wiggins unable to find her. You see there the separation as Williams had gotten free of the coverage of Nikki Hyber. And Hyber steps into a little bit bigger role with the injuries in the defensive backfield. Gets away with one there. Quickly, 3rd and a long 9 with Barrett in the deep eye. They'll overload the near side as they work it from left to right here in the first quarter. Blitz coming. Barrett running right, able to get the edge and forced out of bounds, but not before she picks up the first down. Hyber able to force Barrett out, does lose her helmet, but Barrett able to move the chains. Working on those sensational back-to-back efforts that has seen her go for 517 yards over the last 2 weeks. First down from the War 48. Norrie Washington in the backfield. Barrett in the offset eye. Snap to Wiggins. Now trouble on the exchange, but Barrett able to fall on it. Able to just beat Amber Kaufman to the football. A loss on the play of 5 yards. Takes it back to the 44. Call it 4 yards. It'll be a 2nd and 14. And as you might expect, fairly fast-moving first quarter. Both of these teams rely primarily on the running game, but that will be even more so tonight with a strong crosswind, better than 10 miles an hour all day here in Playa del Rey. And it figures to be tough to throw the football. Again, the Vixen crowding the line. Here come the flags. And a false start. Gets a little bit tougher. 2nd down and 19. And so far, I think if you're Connor Lewis over on that Vixen sideline, you have got to like how it's going. War struggling, hurting themselves with some penalties, but just as importantly, a dearth of big plays here in this first quarter. And I think if you're the Vixen, that's exactly how you want it. Again, they'll crowd the line. The counter to Washington finds a little lane on the left side. Out to the 46, well shy of a first down. It'll leave a third and about 13. They'll spot it at the War 45. Running left behind her left guard, Layla Rivers. Saw Brianna Irby, an outstanding left tackle. Did leave the game in the first quarter, but under her own power. See if Irby's back. But the way she left the field, have to suspect that we'll see Brianna Irby some more tonight. Third down and 13 from the War 45. Dual setbacks. Again, Barrett on the end around with a blocker in front. Looking for the edge. She's got it. First down for Brianna Barrett into Vixen territory. Brought down at the 34-yard line. Hannah Eckhart able to eventually string it out and bring Barrett down, but it's just no substitute for the speed. On the end around and able to get the edge once again. They'll spot it at the 35. The 20-yard run for Brianna Barrett gives the War a fresh set of downs at the Vixen 35. Well, how do you like the luxury? On a 3rd and 13, go to Brianna Barrett, keep it on the ground, still moves the chains. Again, they stay with the dual setbacks. The give straight ahead to Washington, has to stutter step in the backfield, now brought down for a loss of a yard on the play. Once again, blowing it up, Sophie Culhane into the backfield quickly. Washington lost a yard. It'll leave a second down and 11. And again, for the Vixen, missing Emily Sampson. And obviously, that's going to put a lot of pressure on that linebacking core, but so far, doing the job, especially on those interior runs. The good work that the War have been able to do has been on the outside with Barrett. Caldwell following Rivers on that left side for a gain of about 3. It'll leave a 3rd down and 8 from the 33, and of course those that have followed the War for any length of time will know that they're going to go 4 downs. We saw that on the opening drive where still elected to run a play on a 4th and 15 near midfield. Just not going to kick the ball away. So still a lot of options for the War with 2 downs to work with, one would presume, from the Vixen 33, facing a 3rd and 8. Barrett in the slot on the left. They'll look for the end around again. Barrett running right, picks up a good block from Caldwell. That springs her on the right side. Barrett still on her feet. Inside the 20, down to the 12-yard line. First down for the War in the red zone. Once again, Eckhart able to get there. But Caldwell throws a big block to spring her right there. Barrett able to slip by Hyber and extend that play, taking it down to the 12-yard line. Barrett averaging an almost cartoonish 16 yards per rush on the season. Caldwell gets the carry on the left side, and she is driven down. No gain on the play. That is a big hit from Samira Garcia-Pedro. 6 foot, 320 pounds, out of Mankato, Wisconsin. And it's a tough hit for Caldwell, and to add insult to metaphorical injury, thankfully, the War going to lose some yardage on a penalty. So that's going to move it all the way back to the 28-yard line. We're to leave a 1st and 20. Down to 1:35 remaining in the opening quarter. And, of course, for those following our scoreboard, the clock that we have is an unofficial clock. We'll try to keep you apprised of the exact time as we go along, but it's just an estimation on our clock. Washington on the carry, fails to get back to the line, as again the interior of that Vixen defensive line, as Cherry Flugel able to beat her block and get into the backfield, and there's just no chance for Washington here, working against the veteran anchor of this offensive line, center Francine Loya. But Flugel that time able to knife through. Washington does well to get back to the line. 1:15 remaining in the opening quarter. Timeout on the field with the Vixen on top, 7-0. Second down and 20 from the Vixen 28. Lengthy drive for the War that started back on their own 39. But penalties have been a factor here in this opening quarter, particularly for the War. 3 penalties. This one backs them up to a 2nd and 21. Barrett running left, working against Candace Bostic and eventually forced out of bounds. Minimal gain for Barrett, a gain of perhaps 3. Eventually run out by Courtney Cullen again, but Candace Bostic over on the left side does a good job of stringing this play out. Cullen finishes it off. Barrett did get to the 25-yard line. It leaves a 3rd down and long for the War, down to 40 seconds. The snap to Wiggins. They fake to Barrett. Now Wiggins looking deep for Williams, and this time has Williams inside the 5. Hyber gets there for the stop, but Wiggins finds Williams, and this going back to the same play that we saw earlier on this drive, and again Williams gets separation, and were it not for that ball holding up perhaps in the wind, Williams is going to get to the end zone, but has to wait for it, brings it in. That gives Hyber enough time to recover and bring Williams down. But the War inside the 5. Washington pushing the pile down to the goal line. No signal yet. So Washington down to the 1 on the final play of the opening quarter. So that'll end the first quarter. And when we come back to start the second quarter, the War on the doorstep, trailing at 7-0. First and goal from the 1 for the War trailing at 7-0, but on the doorstep with Nori Washington in the deep eye. Behind Sean Caldwell, they give it to Caldwell on the right side. A little hesitation at the line. Caldwell's not going to get in. Driven back, perhaps even lost a yard on the play. And once again, Samira Garcia-Pedro able to plug the hole. No room for Caldwell. Lost about a half a yard. Now just inside the 2. And a 2nd and goal. Saw Megan Dixon fly in there at the end of that play as well. Barrett on the slot on the left side. Now it's Caldwell in the offset eye. They'll try Caldwell again, running left, all kinds of room. Caldwell going to get in. Sean Caldwell from 2 yards out. And now the War within a point, but they'll line up to go for 2. So we'll wait and see if they can get the lead and a good push on that left side, where again they get so much good work from Layla Rivers and Brianna Irby. And the War answer back, going 61 yards with Caldwell finishing it off from 2 yards out. So the War are going to line up to go for 2, if history is any indicator. For Sean Caldwell, her 3rd rushing touchdown on the season. We talked about the Vixen and the spread of carries between Paige Kuplick, Johanna Fairmolen, who is now injured, and Shy Rhodes, who has become a burgeoning star for the Vixen. But that's the case even more for the War. Again, Barrett and Washington handle much of the duty, but you'll see Caldwell, Alyssa Williams, Kenesha Moore in the fold as well. Barrett on the end around, gonna get in easily. And with that, the War grab the lead, 8-7, 14:07 remaining in the second quarter. War grab the lead. Opening minute, second quarter. And for the Vixen, that saw so much of it go the way they would have wanted in that opening quarter, nonetheless, down a point. And if the playoffs were to begin today, this would be the exact matchup. That national division, 2 and 3, but as we talked about at the top, awful lot can change based on the results of these last couple of weeks of the season, starting here tonight. Again, can the War secure a home playoff date? And where will the Vixen be playing? That's certainly what we're going to find out. And one thing can be sure among these two teams, they maybe had enough of seeing the St. Louis Slam over the last couple of years. Both of these teams, each eliminated by the Slam in each of the last 2 years. As once again, St. Louis, the defending champs, undefeated on the season. Rhodes in the deep eye behind Kelly. Receivers left and right. They fake, now screen it out. Looking for Dvorak, who picks up a block. into War territory at the 49, a gain of 6. Will leave a 2nd down and 4. Saw Radford with the touchdown catch earlier in the first quarter in there with the good blocking downfield. Creates a little lane for Dvorak. They'll spot it at midfield, leaving a 2nd down and 5. As Kelly looks over the War defense. 13-19 and counting remaining in the opening quarter. Rhodes on the carry, running right. Able to get the corner, absorbs a big hit from Williams. Rhodes did pick up the 1st down. To the War 41, the 9-yard run for Erica Shy Rhodes. See Caldwell trying to string that play out. And it's similar to what you so often see with Brianna Barrett. As the speed of Rhodes able to get the corner, but Williams with a good angle. Delivered a big hit. Nonetheless, a 1st down for the Vixen at the War 41. 1st and 10. Blitz coming. Good protection for Kelly, but the pass incomplete. Roberson with the coverage on Dvorak. Leaves a 2nd down and 10. Well, certainly the Vixen not shy about throwing the football. With the veteran Aaron Kelly at the controls. But the wind still a factor, certainly. Those longer throws not going to be easy. That one offline leaves a 2nd down and 10 from the War 41. Bunch formation with Rhodes in the backfield. Kelly has the snap, the pitch to Rhodes, running left now, looking to cut it back. Able to pick her way forward, perhaps a couple of yards. Will leave a 3rd and 8. Kenesha Moore, Sydney Villarreal moving up quickly to hold Rhodes to a gain of a yard. Leaves a 3rd and 9 from the War 40. Well, you suspect that this might be 4-down territory for the Vixen as well at the War 40. Play action, quick throw over the middle, 1st down yardage on the completion to the 30-yard line. That's a strong throw over the middle. Looking for Radford. And Kelly flashes the strong arm as Radford runs that quick slant over the middle, working against Villarreal. 1st down carry. And Rhodes initially found a little room, now pushed back after a gain of about 4. Call it 5 to the War 25-yard line. And there's the first time that we've gotten the chance to call Antoinette Borders Frazier's name. Veteran nose tackle, now a member of the front office. And interesting reading about Antoinette Borders Frazier. One of the things she likes to do in her spare time, spend time with her grandchildren. I don't know how many grandmas play football, but it can't be too many. I don't know if Antoinette Borders Frazier is the only one. But Grams is out playing some football today. 2nd and 5. Picked off. Looking for Radford. Williams steps in front. Williams with open field. One man to beat. But they will track Williams down inside the Vixen 20. And the War defense has their big play. Radford initially open, but Williams closes quickly, reading that ball in the air, and then the lengthy return. They will spot it at the 22-yard line. But when we were last here, in the win against the Mile High Blaze, the War defense went to town in the second half, forcing turnovers and eventually breaking open what had been a close game en route to a 40-16 win. and it's what you have to avoid when playing against this Cali War team. Washington running right, swallowed up in the backfield, a loss on the play. Vixen defense continuing to do the job. Kaufman there quickly. And so far, this War offensive line is struggling against this front seven for the Minnesota Vixen. And so far, really, the only success they've had is due to the outstanding speed of Brianna Barrett, able to get to the outside. But they haven't been able to do much of anything inside the tackles. Second and long, Barrett running right, cuts it back. Barrett into the secondary, still on her feet. Barrett bouncing off tackles. She's through. She's in for a touchdown. Brianna Barrett from 25 yards out. And the War extend on the lead. Let's watch here. This is just a great individual effort. Able to slip out of a tackle and then run through another would-be tackle. So speed and power on one run from Brianna Barrett as they finally get Barrett to have to cut back toward the inside of the field. But running through a couple of tackles and then bouncing off another. And once she gets into the clear, she's gone. They find Williams for the two-point conversion. And now the lead is 2 scores here in the second quarter as the War go up 16-7. You're watching Cali War Football, the Women's Football Alliance, presented by SoCalCollegeSports.com. Nine-point lead for the War. Short kick taken at the 30. Good field position coming for the Vixen. Now past the 40 and to the 45. And now it's the Vixen, who, though it's still early, can use an answer. The War have grabbed the momentum. Back-to-back scores. Brianna Barrett is starting to pile up the yardage. And a 9-point lead for Cali. And the Vixen will start from the 45. Well, for Kelly, the interception by Williams, that's just her 3rd interception on the season. And as we talked about earlier on, she does a terrific job running this offense, as she has done for years. Came in 123 attempts and just 2 interceptions on the season. But looking for the big play to Radford, and Williams steps in front, and then the lengthy return. Gave the War the short field, and they took advantage. They sent Dvorak in motion. They'll try Rhodes. Good hole for Rhodes. Past midfield, down to the 48. 7-yard run for Shy Rhodes. Caldwell, Villarreal there for the stop. Leaves a 2nd down and 3. Well, you wouldn't expect that Kelly would be particularly rattled by a turnover. It's a veteran quarterback, but let's see if we see a heavy dose of Shy Rhodes, if for no other reason than to steady the ship perhaps and give the Vixen defense a chance to rest up. Quick pass complete for a 1st down. Radford with her 3rd catch. Had the touchdown reception earlier, takes it to the War 41. And a fresh set of downs for the Vixen. Quickly to the line. Clock moving, 8:30 and counting remaining in the second quarter. Kelly Looking to change the play, has receivers left and right. Rhodes running right with some room at the 35, on the edge inside the 30, and forced out of bounds near the 25-yard line of the Cali War. First down once again for the Vixen, finally forced out of bounds by Cynthia Ibarra. 14 yards for Rhodes, who's putting together a big first half as well. Now a mix-up on the play, but they find Radford in the flat. Radford has the first down. Down inside the 10-yard line before she's finally brought down. Well, hard to say if that was a broken play or just a little bit of misdirection for Connor Lewis and the Vixen. Let's watch here, but no, that's an unbelievably good job of selling it if that was the play by Aaron Kelly. Meanwhile, back to live action, and the ball is down, and the War are saying they have it, and they do. Second turnover here in the first half as Jamie Robinson falls on it. Let's see. Can we run that one more time while they sort out a flag on the play? Let's watch one more time as they're trying to come to the line after the play to Radford, and yeah, just no good on the exchange. And Kelly doesn't get all the way there. So the mix-up with Rhodes, they're going to pick up the flag. All right, so they're going to pick up the flag. This was actually just to mark the spot. So no flag on the play, but you see the trouble on the exchange between Kelly and Rhodes, and Jamie Robinson there to fall on the fumble. Another interesting fact about Robinson, to stand out tight end and linebacker for the War, as Washington finally finds a little running room, tripped up after a gain of about 6 out to the 21-yard line of the War. But Robinson, for all the play, offensively and defensively, catching the football, one of the outstanding linebackers in the Women's Football Alliance, started out as a quarterback. But on this team, there's not a lot of room left for quarterbacks. So Jamie Robinson showing her versatility. Talk about doing it all, and that time falls on the fumble. And that's a heartbreaker for the Vixen, who were on the move. Looking to tighten this one up, down 16-7, but second turnover here in the first half. Barrett through a good hole, makes a little move. Barrett, big play into Vixen territory. Now it's a foot race, trying to track her down, and they do. Finally inside the 20. Candace Bostic does wrap up Brianna Barrett, but not before she rips off a huge gain. And once again, shedding tackles after a good move at the line of scrimmage, was ultimately able to spring her. But Bostic does manage to keep Barrett out of the end zone, but the War on the big run from Brianna Barrett. Now on the doorstep again, it's a 1st and goal. They're inside the 10. First down handoff, Washington bounces off a couple of tacklers, falls forward for a gain of a couple. Good hard running from Nori Washington, and we do have a Vixen player down. Courtney Cullen. So Courtney Cullen still down, will step aside with the War leading at 16-7, 5:54 remaining in the opening half. Courtney Cullen up on her feet as they help her off the field. 2nd and goal for the War from the Vixen 7, leading at 16-7. And it's a Vixen defensive unit already battling a number of injuries. And now a little more banged up as Cullen is helped off. Needing a stop here. In danger of falling further behind on a 2nd and goal. They fake to Washington. Now it's Williams on the end around. Williams racing for the pylon, in for a touchdown. Well, it wasn't Brianna Barrett. Even though if it was the quintessential Brianna Barrett play, as they once again go to the end around. Williams with her first rushing touchdown on the season, coming in with 7 carries for 137 yards. So in limited use, Melissa Williams has been astonishingly effective. And that time finds some running room again. 7-yard touchdown run, her first on the season. The War pushed the lead to 22-7. And now it's turning into something of a statement for the Cali War here early. This is a team that has spent a lot of time in the postseason the last few years. Haven't been able to get all the way through. Looking for Williams on the fade and the pass incomplete. Nonetheless, the lead 22-7. But for the War, who the last couple of years have come up just short, making the playoffs, they're on their way back. And looking to break through. Right now, they've got the lead over the Vixen. Again, short kick is going to give the Vixen very good field position. This time it's Rhodes who takes it. And even with a short return, still sets the Vixen up, at their own 40. But other than some trouble on the opening possession where the Vixen took advantage of a relatively short field going 52 yards for a touchdown, the War on the last couple of possessions have forced turnovers and kept the Vixen stuck at 7 points, and now the Cali War lead is 22-7. Kelly comes on with Kuplik in the backfield. 1st and 10, Minnesota from the 40. War showing blitz, here they come. Kuplik, following her left guard, falls forward for a gain of about 3 to the 43. Well, for the Vixen, if you're looking for some good news, off the interception from Williams 2 drives ago, they did move the football down into the War red zone before coughing it up. Losing it on the fumble on the exchange from Kelly to Rhodes. So for the most part, they have had success moving the football. And this becomes arguably a must-score drive for the Vixen here late in the second quarter, down 22-7. Pass complete to Hove. Hove able to make the move on Ibarra. First down yardage and more, steps out of bounds near the Cali 40. They'll spot it at the Cali 40. So the first down for the Vixen on the completion to Caitlin Hove. Saw a good move there from Hove to pick up some additional yardage into War territory. Plenty of time, 4:20 and counting remaining in the first half, with Cali on top 22-7. Back to Kuplik, running left. Kuplik into the secondary. First down and more. Williams trying to force her out of bounds, down near the goal line, in for the touchdown. Kuplick rumbles in from 40 yards out. And the Vixen answer back. Well, this is a great job on the left side of that offensive line. Yeah, that's Amy Shaver, Taylor Fox on the left side. And that's a big-time seal that they get for Kuplick on that left side. Williams ultimately the only one with a chance. Finally, trying to force Kuplick, who was running downhill toward that out-of-bounds area over on the far side, but couldn't do it. Kuplick in from 40 yards out. And for Paige Kuplick, her second rushing touchdown on the season, pulls the Vixen a little closer, 22-14. Cali War Football, the Women's Football Alliance, presented by SoCalCollegeSports.com. Four minutes exactly remaining in the first half. The 40-yard touchdown run for Paige Kuplick has pulled the Vixen back within 8 at 22-14, but it does leave the War with plenty of time to answer back. Short kick taken at the 12-yard line. Barrett running left, able to slip out of a tackle at the 20 and gets all the way out to the 41. 29 yards on the return for Brianna Barrett. Well, they're going to spot it at the 40. Nonetheless, good field position for the War. And with 3:48 remaining in the first half, they'll go back to work, leading it by 8. The War have had to take a couple of timeouts here in the first half, so they're down to just 1. We do have a flag down. So let's see if the field gets a little longer. And yeah, this one's going to go against the War. So they'll mark this one off. And this. So the War will go to work. 1st and 10 from their own 30. But for a team whose signature is the big play, yards not often the difference. We've already seen it this first half, a couple of big plays defensively, but also saw Barrett go for about 70 yards, completely reversing the field on the previous drive, leading to the Williams touchdown run. 3 wide receivers to the right. Washington in the backfield with Wiggins. Washington running right. Churning her legs after contact. A gain of about 5. Leaves a 2nd and 5. Clock moving. 3:30 and counting remaining in the first half. Kaufman again on the stop. Start to see the Vixen move up on the line. 8 bodies on the line. The end around for Kiara Allen. And Allen has the first down. Brought down by Jocelyn Tanner. Tanner, part of that outstanding linebacking core for the Vixen, but A linebacking core that is increasingly banged up with the loss of Sampson last week. Now an injury earlier to Courtney Cullen, but also injuries for Caitlin Hill, Chloe Anderson in that defensive backfield. And that makes a tough assignment a little bit tougher. A different assignment certainly for the Vixen last week against the St. Louis Slam. Barrett on the end around, able to slip out of a tackle in the backfield. Now Barrett with some running room into Vixen territory and finally stood up inside the Vixen 40. There is a flag down back at midfield. So let's see if some of this is coming back. As Barrett was in some trouble in the backfield, Megan Dixon had a shot, but it is so tough to wrap up Brianna Barrett one-on-one. And we got a good view of it there. The hold on the run by Barrett, and that's tough for the War, as Barrett had really already done a lot of the work. They'll move it all the way back to the Cali 40, down to 2:01 remaining in the first half. And the War have hurt themselves with some penalties in this first half. And now a timeout on the field with 1:59 remaining in the first half. And the War on top, 22-14. First and 13 from the War 40. After they assess the penalty on the hold. And that one takes a good 25 yards from the War, who had moved into Vixen territory. But now back at their own 40 with a first down. Bunch formation, Wiggins fakes to Barrett. Now open in the flat, it should say Washington. Washington with all kinds of room. Down the near sideline, forced out of bounds in the red zone. A big play as they set up the screen and find Washington out in the clear. 42 yards to the Vixen 18-yard line. And that has got to be deflating for the Vixen, who are the beneficiaries of the penalty on the previous play. But the War go right back to work. They'll spot it at the 20, so give Washington 40 yards. Well-designed play, and Nori Washington takes it to the Vixen 20. Barrett now in the deep eye on the pitch, running right, able to slip out of one tackle, but stood up down near the 15-yard line. Let's take you back to the screen pass moments ago. And Washington picking up some blocks downfield as well. Finally forced out of bounds. Clock moving. 1:10. And now whistles come in. And a timeout taken The Vixen going to take a timeout. Their first charge timeout, 1:07 remaining in the first half. War back in the red zone, leading at 22-14. It's Cali War football, presented by SoCalCollegeSports.com. Second and 5 from the Vixen 15. Williams split out to the left. Barrett in the I formation on the pitch. Circles to the outside. And brought down inside the 10. Barrett getting all the way to the 6-yard line. That is good enough for a first down. Now under a minute to go in the first half. And the War going to take their final timeout as Barrett is forced out of bounds at the Vixen 6 with 57 seconds remaining in the first half. And the War on top, 22-14. First and goal from the 6, and Barrett remains in the pistol formation behind Wiggins. Washington split out in the slot on the left side. Wiggins looking back over the middle, finds Williams for the touchdown. Well, they spread it out and left Williams one-on-one on the right side. And working one-on-one. Second touchdown for Alyssa Williams in the first half. And Nikki Hyber out on an island on that right side. Williams getting inside for the touchdown. 28-14, the War on top with 52.2 remaining. They'll line up to go for two. Barrett in the eye. Wiggins looking to throw. And this one picked off. Looking back over the middle. And the good hands. Allison Patain on that defensive line. Able to read the play. Come up with the interception. That denies the War the 2-point conversion. But they have the 28-14 lead. Under a minute to go here in the first half. It's the Women's Football Alliance on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Scores coming fast and furious on the latter stages of this first half. Meanwhile, a loose football, and this appeared to be off a Vixen player. The War might have it back, and this would be in Vixen territory. They do. It's the third turnover in the first half for the Minnesota Vixen. This one comes on special teams. Let's watch this one here. And yeah, it's Shy Rhodes. And off that lower leg and bounces forward. A good 10 yards. And the Vixen yield a short field. Denied an opportunity to pull a little closer. And now the defense is going to have to come up with a stop. The War out of timeouts. But they have it at the Vixen 43-yard line. With 47.5 seconds remaining in this first half. And more importantly, they've got Brianna Barrett in the backfield. You don't need a lot of time. Wiggins looking to throw, airs it out, looking for Williams, and the pass incomplete. Jocelyn Tanner had the coverage. Looking deep downfield for Williams again. Well, Barrett certainly well over 100 yards again in this first half. That's safe to say, but Williams has also put together a very nice first half with a couple of touchdowns. And they were looking once again as they had Williams working one-on-one against Jocelyn Tanner. But the pass incomplete. And the wind, if it has calmed, it would be just slightly. Still a noticeable breeze down on the field. Makes for a comfortable evening. Good football weather, but not great for throwing the football. Barrett in some trouble in the backfield with a little stutter step. Now Barrett going to look to throw, and it's incomplete. Well, that's not exactly unheard of for Brianna Barrett, who did have a pass attempt last week. And she had Williams wide open downfield. I don't know that this was at all part of the plan, but Williams was behind the defense and all alone, but Barrett could not get enough on the throw. The pass last week in the win at Houston was also incomplete. So Brianna Barrett can do it, almost all of it, on the football field, but so far, throwing the football, the jury's still out. Nonetheless, it leaves a 3rd down and 10. Now down to 32.6, and Barrett will line up in the slot on the left side. Dual setbacks for Wiggins and the War offense. Looking to throw. Again, pop flies the near side into double coverage looking for Barrett, and the pass incomplete, nearly intercepted by Jocelyn Tanner. Candace Bostic had the coverage. But the Vixen had that play well diagnosed. It leaves a 4th down. And the War, with 26.7 seconds remaining in the first half, will certainly line up to go for it. Bostic, a former Marine, came to football like so many of the players that we see out here after a lengthy career in basketball and track, made the transition to play football. Blitz coming. Wiggins, good protection, throwing over the middle, batted around and incomplete. And the Vixen defense does come up with the big stop. Again, they were looking for Barrett, but the coverage from Hannah Eckhart able to break it up. Big stop for the Vixen, as the 3rd turnover here in the first half does not lead to points for the War. More and more, Brianna Barrett becoming options number 1, 2, maybe 3 in the passing game. 25 receptions on the season, the next highest for the War on the season. Jamie Robinson came in with 7 catches on the season. So both Tanya Guzman, Chantel Wiggins really lock in on Brianna Barrett. Why not? Of the 18 touchdowns on the season, a spectacular playmaker. And the Vixen, again, with all eyes on Brianna Barrett, come up with the stop. Kelly going to look to throw. And the pass incomplete. Looking for Dvorak. Over on the far side, down to 17.7. The Vixen do still have 2 timeouts remaining. So looking perhaps for a big play to flip the field. Perhaps get one more shot here in this first half, though, as the War has been capable of making such big plays. This is a move that carries with it some risk, even with 17.7 seconds remaining. Snap to Kelly. Deep drop, good protection. Pass incomplete. Working against the coverage of Villarreal. Wanted Radford. Leaves a 3rd and 10, now down to 11.6 seconds. And will the Vixen take another shot here on 3rd down to 11.6 seconds. Bradford, another interesting story. Introduced to the game. Kuplick on the carry, looking for the sideline and gets it. But did she get the first down? This is very close to the first down marker. Looked to be about a yard short at the 48-yard line, but Jackie Radford, first game to the game of football, watching her father play, a D3 All-American, fell in love with the game. And now an opportunity to play here for the Vixen. Leading receiver on the season. They did spot the ball a couple of yards shy for Paige Kuplick after the 8-yard run, so time enough for one more play. Ultimately, it won't matter that it is 4th down, as this will be the final play of the first half, and the Vixen going to take a timeout with 5.1 seconds remaining. We'll step aside very quickly ourselves. Here from Playa del Rey with the War on Top, 28-14. Final play of the first half. And the wind is up. Crosswind for Kelly. Deep drop. Now flushed from the pocket. Kelly on the run. Just going to have to head out of bounds. No time remaining here in the first half. And the War will take a 28-14 lead to the locker room. You are watching Cali War Football, the Women's Football Alliance, presented on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Start of the second half. Vixen will have it first, trailing at 28-14. Short kick taken at the 30-yard line and out to about the 40. Ten yards on the return for Taylor Luca. Give it 9 yards to the 39. For Luca, listed at 5 feet, 95 pounds. Don't often see too many football players listed at under 100. But Luca gets 9 yards on the return. And they will spot it at the 40. So it looked like initially 2 indications, but Vixen will start from the 40 with a 1st and 10 and a big drive early in the third quarter. A score here, the Vixen can get themselves back into it, perhaps get this down to a 1-score game. And if the War can generate a stop here, can perhaps give themselves a little more breathing room here early in the second quarter. Next score going to be so critical between these two teams. Rhodes looking for the edge, does find some running room, has the first down. Smitty Jones had a chance in the backfield, but Rhodes does a good job to slip the tackle. Roberson eventually on the stop after a 12-yard run for Shy Rhodes, who put together a strong first half as well. Well, unsurprisingly, Brianna Barrett with a big first half, just 1 touchdown. That's noteworthy in and of itself. But Barrett with huge yardage numbers in the first half, couple of big runs, setting up War scores. But Rhodes, who has turned into a star here in the WFA, especially over the last couple of weeks, back-to-back 100-plus efforts on the ground, and another strong showing here tonight against this War defense. A false start will make it 1st and 15 back in Vixen territory at their own 49. So we've been impressed with Shy Rhodes, but also Paige Kuplik with that 40-yard touchdown run. And again, going over some of the players and getting ready for our broadcast and learning a little bit more about the players. And we'll see Kuplik, I'm sure, here in the second half. But among other pastimes for Paige Kuplik, roller derby. Boy, you don't see that too much anymore either. That was a fun one to read. Meanwhile, Rhodes on the carry gets the penalty yardage back, picking up 5, leaves a 2nd and 10 back in War territory at the 46-yard line. I didn't realize that roller derby was still a thing, but I'm glad to hear it. I'm elated even to hear that still going on. Some good memories back in the day. 2nd and 10. Play action, Kelly with a defender in her face, guns and completes. Dvorak with the catch just off the turf. Robinson into the backfield, and Kelly has to unleash that throw with Jamie Robinson bearing down, and Dvorak makes the catch. It is shy of first down yardage at the 39. Meanwhile, there is a penalty being assessed at the end of the play. So a penalty after the catch by Dvorak will give the Vixen the first down and take it all the way down to the War 24-yard line. So now the Vixen on the move, looking for that critical score that could get this back to a 1-score game here in the second half. Pistol formation with Rhodes in the backfield behind Kelly. Deep drop, good protection. Kelly guns on the far side and completes down inside the 15-yard line, finding Jackie Radford. 4th catch tonight for Radford. So they'll spot it at the 15. That is right near the first down marker, but they haven't moved the chains. So 2nd and about a foot for the Vixen, back in the red zone. They'll send Dvorak wide to the left. They'll continue in the pistol formation. Rhodes gets the handoff, veering right. shedding a couple of tackles, now stood up and driven out of bounds, very near the first down marker. Hard to see from this angle if she got it watching the chains, and they're not moving just yet. And it looks like Rhodes is going to be a little short. Now it's third down, still less than a yard to go. Good job by the War defense on that second and short, stringing that play out. Not much room for Shy Rhodes. 11:38 and counting. Early stages, third quarter. Now Paige Kuplick, who we talked about earlier, back in the game in the backfield. Kelly looking over the War defense as they crowd the line. Some movement over on that right side. They give to Kuplick. Flags are down. Big hole for Kuplick. Bouncing off tacklers inside the 5, down near the goal line. And in. Okay, so late signal comes in. Kuplick did get in. And I suspect this is going to be against the War on the flag. Let's await the resolution. The Vixen are heading off the field. They think they've got the touchdown on the Kuplick run. And it looks like they do. Yep, this is going to be the second rushing touchdown for Paige Kuplick. 11:07 remaining in the third quarter. And they'll line up for the extra point. The Vixen back within 8 at 28-20. The kick is up, and it's good. So the Vixen goes 60 yards. Paige Kuplick rumbles in from 15 yards out. And that cuts the deficit to 7. The War leading at 28-21. It's Cali War football, the Women's Football Alliance, presented by SoCalCollegeSports.com. (28-21). Vixen take the opening kick here in the second half, and they go 60 yards as Kuplick runs it in. And now it's a one-score game once again. Short kick taken by Williams at the 30. Able to slip out of a tackle, bouncing off another tackler and out of bounds. Short return for Alyssa Williams. Still solid field position for the War to start this drive. 10:59 remaining in the third quarter. And now we'll see the War offense as Chantel Wiggins will come on. Chantel Wiggins spent so much of her athletic career in the game of tennis. Growing up playing for much of her life, a coach for the last 20 years. Leaving me to wonder, has she picked up pickleball yet? We'll see. Maybe that's coming. First down handoff. Straight ahead, twisting forward for a gain of about 4. Nori Washington on the carry. Quiet game for Washington on the ground for the most part here tonight. Coming in averaging 5.1 yards a carry on the season, but did have the big 40-yard catch and run in the second quarter, leading to a War touchdown. Second down and 6. Washington again on the left side, still churning the legs, has the first down. 8-yard run for Nori Washington, immediately moves the chains. They'll spot it at the Vixen 48-yard line. Back-to-back carries for Nori Washington. And the War into Vixen territory. Washington will remain in the game. Nori Washington came to the Cali War after she played against him as a rookie a few years back. Said, we got waxed pretty good in that game. And I thought, I want to be part of that team. And here she's come over to this Cali War team. Barrett on the carry, running on the left side, and a gain of about 7. A good push again behind Brianna Irby. Layla Rivers on the left side, creating a little room for Barrett. Down to the Vixen 41, leaves a 2nd down and 3. Clock moving, 9:08 and counting. Remaining in the 3rd quarter. Sean Caldwell now in the backfield with Wiggins, bunch formation. Caldwell on the carry, running right, hit behind the line and brought down a loss on the play. Flugel once again knifing through and bringing Caldwell down for a loss of a couple. Back to the 43, makes it a 3rd and 5. Well, if you're going to run wide, I should say, on this Vixen defense, perhaps you need to be as fast as Brianna Barrett. Caldwell found it a more difficult task, certainly, as Flugel got through. Brought her down for a loss of a couple. Dual setbacks on a 3rd and 5. They'll look for Barrett on the end around. Barrett slips out of a tackle, 1st down and more, breaks another tackle at the 40. Barrett in the open field, dragged down inside the 25 and down all the way to the 16. But another great individual effort from Brianna Barrett. Let's watch here from field level. As again, this is reasonably well diagnosed, but running through a couple of tackles. And you see Tanner had a shot as well, and finally brought down by Caitlin Hove, playing both ways. And meanwhile, Alyssa Williams slow to get up on one knee. As Barrett got all the way down to the 14-yard line. Has the 1st down. Williams is up. And we're going to run this back. Let's watch just at the tail end. It's Williams, maybe on that. Well, I don't want to speculate too much. He was holding the left arm just at the very end of that play. First and 10 from the 14. 1st down handoff. The ball is out, still loose. Both teams with a shot. Irby was there. The Vixen are saying they have it. They do. Let's see if we have this from a couple of angles, as now it's the Vixen forcing their 1st turnover, and it comes at a huge time in their own red zone. And this one came out via a hit. Well, it's hard to say. Might not have ever had that ball. It was out there. Yeah, and it came down. Irby was there, but Paige Conde, excuse me. And Paige Conde falls on that football. Big turnover. Meanwhile, a Cali player is down. We'll step aside. 7:13 remaining in the 3rd quarter. And the Vixen, off the big turnover, have it back, trailing 28-21. So the turnover is now 3-1. But the Vixen force a big one here to get it back. Down just 1 score. Rhodes running right. Finds some running room down that far sideline. Moves the chains immediately out to the 31-yard line. 13-yard run for Shy Rhodes. And you have to imagine that Rhodes has made it 3 weeks in a row with 100 yards plus on the ground. Shouldering even more of the load, along with Paige Kuplick, with the injury to Johanna Fairmolen. Out for this one with a leg injury. But the running game still working for the Vixen. Throw over the middle. Big gain once again here for the Vixen as they find their tight end, Sam Anderson, who breaks a tackle at the 25. Anderson in a foot race. She's going to go. First catch for Sam Anderson. Goes down to get it. This is a terrific catch on a ball thrown a little bit low and behind her. How about the hands? But then that's just the beginning. Watch Anderson coming right at you. In the foot race, able to ward off Williams with the stiff arm, stay on her feet, picks up a block. And Sam Anderson, 68 yards for the touchdown. And the Vixen, with 6:10 remaining in the third quarter, looking for the tie. Kick up and good, and we are tied. Midway through the third, the Vixen are back. All tied up at 28. It's Cali War football, the Women's Football Alliance on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Turnovers continue to be a huge storyline as we're all tied at 28. The Vixen on their heels moments ago forced the big turnover, get the football back, and then on 2 plays, they go 82 yards to tie it up at 28. Barrett forced out of bounds on the return. Let's go back to the replay and take a look at the work of Anderson. And here Williams has a shot, but that is a nasty stiff arm. I would say that stiff arm is par for the course for what you're likely to get from a tight end. Probably, right, a middling stiff arm for a tight end, just generally speaking. But yeah, that is a tough assignment for Alyssa Williams, who left. It's good to see Alyssa Williams back out there, left with an injury earlier on the last drive for the War, but back out there. So that's a good sign, but with a very tough assignment in the open field trying to bring down Sam Anderson. Couldn't do it, Anderson. Wards her off, takes it in. Huge play for the Vixen. And we're all tied at 28 as we wind under 6 minutes to go here in the third quarter. First down carry and a pickup of a couple. This drive starts from the Minnesota 36. Now it's a second down, and I should say from the Cali 36. Leaves a second down and 8, and now arguably as much adversity as the War have faced since all the way back in week 1 when they lost at Nevada 30-24. They've come back with 4 straight wins since. In this one, they did go down very early 7-0, but bounced back very quickly to take a 22-7 lead eventually. Barrett continuing to push the pile, able to pick up 3 and leave a third down and 5 as they'll help Barrett to her feet. Amazing to see Brianna Barrett run through tackles. Listed at 5'7", 167, but it's a powerful frame. Even in a somewhat diminutive stature. Big play on a 3rd and 5 for the War. But they've been largely in control in this one, leading almost throughout after trailing very early. But now back to a tie game and a Vixen team with an awful lot of confidence. 14 unanswered here in the 3rd quarter. Meanwhile, good hard running from Norrie Washington on a 3rd and 5. Able to pick up the first down, get it to midfield. So the War drive continues. 4:09 and counting remaining in the 3rd quarter. Williams split out to the right. Washington in the backfield. Barrett in the offset eye. Vixen showing blitz. Barrett on the counter again, slips out of a tackle at the line of scrimmage and manages to pick up 5 yards. I don't know that Barrett has gone down from first contact tonight. It's astounding. And she is moving somewhat gingerly, but still staying in the game on a 2nd and 5. But certainly, the Vixen have had their shots. But bringing Barrett down is something else again. Washington in the deep eye. 2nd and 5. They'll keep it on the ground. Washington trying to bounce it outside. Now cuts it back. Spins out of a tackle in the backfield. Very near the first down marker. And does have it. She needed 5 yards. She got 5 yards and a few inches. Another first down for Cali. Now moving it to the Vixen 40. And will this somewhat undermanned Vixen defense begin to wear down here in the latter stages? Again, battling some injuries up and down this defense. They've been game tonight. And this very tough assignment, Barrett wrapped up in the backfield, didn't get away from Dixon. Megan Dixon into the backfield. A loss of a couple for Barrett. And the announcer Jenks strikes again. I'm talking about Barrett running out of first contact all night. And no sooner do I say it, there's Megan Dixon saying not so fast. Able to wrap up Barrett. A loss of 2 leaves a 2nd and 12. Jamie Robinson to the right side. Barrett on the pitch with a head of steam. And picking her way forward, a gain of about 10 will leave a 3rd and 2. Clock moving, 1:27 and counting remaining, and that time Barrett able to sidestep a tackler in the backfield. The 10-yard run leaves a 3rd and 2 from the 32. This drive has come exclusively on the ground. Not a throw from Wiggins yet. Now she'll look to throw on the slant off the hands of Williams on a ball that Alyssa Williams likely should have had, but running over the middle. Tanner, Dana Gustafson lurking in that secondary. And Williams unable to bring it in. Brings up a 4th and 2, and obviously the War will run another play. It's Washington in the backfield. Keep an eye on Barrett on that left side in the offset eye. Let's see if they go to the counter. Yeah, it's Barrett back to the right. And able to push the pile after contact and pick up the first down. Good hard running from Brianna Barrett. Perhaps time for one more play here in the 3rd quarter. Big 4th down conversion for the War as Barrett picks up 4 yards on a 4th and 2. That moves it to the Vixen 28-yard line. 28 seconds and counting remaining in the first half. Now Barrett moves to the deep eye in the pistol formation. Vixen crowding the line defensively. Wiggins gonna air it out, looking for Williams. Williams has the catch inside the 10. Down to the 7-yard line. Tanner with the stop, down to 5 seconds. The War don't have to run another play. They're coming to the line, but they're going to run out of time. That will be the final play of the third quarter on the tremendous catch by Alyssa Williams. And the War inside the 10 when we come back for the start of the fourth quarter. Start of the fourth quarter, and they'll change ends. The War have it inside the 10. First and goal, all tied at 28. So a couple looks at Alyssa Williams in her first season on the outside. And for those that have followed the War, you might be aware it's not an accident that she lines up over there on the right side. As Alyssa Williams telling us that she actually can't see at all out of her right eye and has to try and catch the football essentially with one functioning eye. And working on that right side, she gets that left eye to pick up that football. But just a tremendous catch and fascinating story. See someone really working with that kind of difficulty with her vision on the right side, but left eye working fine and came up with the tremendous catch. Washington on the first down carry, not much doing. We'll leave a second and goal. But Williams, who already has a couple of touchdowns tonight, one on the ground, one through the air, working on that right side with that good left eye. And another big catch. Her third, if memory serves. We have to go unofficial stats here on our broadcast. Second and goal, Washington behind Caldwell in the I formation. Barrett in the slot on the right side. It's Barrett on the end around. Slips out of a tackle in the backfield, now absorbs a big hit. Dixon again there quickly. And Barrett did get in, as it turns out, and she's slow to get up. So Brianna Barrett able to beat the initial contact right here in the backfield, just inside the 5, and then takes that big hit. Looked like Dixon, and Hove. And Barrett shows the toughness. Does get in from 5 yards out. So second touchdown tonight for Brianna Barrett. The 7-yard touchdown run gives the War the lead. Early fourth quarter. And now they'll look for 2. And again, they'll line up Barrett in the pistol. Williams on the slant and again gets inside, has it for the 2-point conversion. Well, they went to that play for a touchdown earlier, and it worked so well. Why not try it again? And this just good execution from the War. A lot of room for Williams. And the sensational rookie with another big play, this time for 2. War answer back, up 36-28, opening minute fourth quarter. And the Vixen are going to have to answer again. So Jennifer Nunez will tee it up. Angled kick, it's Hove inside the 30. Now at the 35. Still with running room, breaking tackles. Hove moving the pile into war territory. We'll see where they spot it, but this is a good return from Caitlin Hove. All the way to the war 47. A return of 25 yards and a short field for the Vixen. Well, when these two teams last met in 2023, it was a 3-point game in Adena. And this another tight one, as you would expect with these two teams. Said at the top, starting to feel a playoff atmosphere as this regular season winds down, and these two teams would seem to be on their way to the postseason once again. Kuplik on the carry straight ahead. Gain of about 4 to the 44. Second down and 6. And a war player slow to get up. Good hard running. It's Smitty Jones. Smitty Jones, a 10-time All-American. Outstanding veteran defensive back for this Cali War team. Smitty talking about her relationship with Lisa King, we've seen on the sidelines. So involved in this Cali War program as a former player, on through the front office and now into the front office of the league. Pass in the flat, complete. Bouncing off tackles. Kelly finding Solveig Lundberg, who actually is the backup quarterback as well, but Lundberg with the reception, the catch and run. Takes a big hit from Williams. Does pick up the first down, but Smitty Jones talking about how important Lisa King has been, bringing her into the league many years ago, back when Lisa King was a player. That relationship has been so important to so many players on this Cali War team. And saying the goal this year is to get Lisa King that championship ring. So they're going to do it. Meanwhile, Kuplik running through a tackle inside the 10, 5, in for the touchdown. No stopping Paige Kuplik. Third rushing touchdown. As again, she finds running room and gets rolling downhill. Let's watch one more time. And again, an awful lot of running room on that left side. Working behind Fox and Shaver, picks up a good block from Dvorak on the outside. And all of a sudden, nothing between Kuplik and the goal line but open field. What a game for Paige Kuplik, who came in with just 1 rushing touchdown on the season. Well, she's got 3 tonight. Extra point is good. Vixen going to settle for the point after. And they trail it by 1, but still a lot of time with 12:43 remaining in the ball game. Well, we mentioned that Shy Rhodes is certainly over 100 yards, but Kuplik has got to be there as well. Another rushing touchdown. And just a great job blocking up front. Talked about the 400-plus yards on the ground, the spectacular effort from the War and the big win at Houston last week. But don't sleep on the Vixen and their ability to run the football, as they have all season. Back to a 1-point game. Low kick toward the far sideline and out of play. So the War will start with very good field position. Or are they going to make them re-kick it? Let's see what they ultimately do here. One more time, back to Kuplik, and again, just a great job. So much running room over on the left side. can't say enough. So the Vixen will re-kick it with Williams and Barrett back deep, I should say. And Barrett does have a return touchdown earlier this season in the win against Mile High. That was back on May 10th. And not a galloping shock. Brianna Barrett presents some danger in the return game. Along with Williams, who, by the way, is averaging almost 19 yards a carry, and it's Williams who will take it from the 25. Now gives to Barrett. Barrett slips through a couple of tacklers in the open field. Down to the 35, 30, 25, 20. They'll never get her. Brianna Barrett's gone. Well, I don't know if it was the hardest decision that any football coach has ever had to make, but it was one of the better ones to have them re-kick it. As it gives Barrett another chance. And once she slips through the two defenders and gets into the open field, there's no chance. 42-35, and now a chance for the War to go up 2 scores. They've been awfully good on 2-point conversions so far today. Kiara Allen at the tailback spot in the I formation behind Nori Washington. Williams again split out to the right. Barrett in the slot. It's Barrett cutting it back and in for the conversion. Well, you have to be so concerned with Barrett heading out wide, but watch here. The cutback. Sees the lane. Knows she's got it. 44-35. Second return touchdown on the season for Brianna Barrett. And the War have bounced back and pushed the lead back to 9. As Nunez will kick it off. Well, they've led by as many as 15. And now the Vixen will once again have to try and claw their way back. They are up to receive this kick from Nunez. Keeps it low. And they'll fall on it at the 47. Like Kaufman electing to just cover up. Nonetheless, good field position for the Vixen. Here comes Aaron Kelly. With the Vixen down 9 once again. They'll send Dvorak out to the right. Radford in the slot on the right side. Kuplick back in the backfield. Snap to Kelly. Kuplick with a good hole on the right side. Stood up by Caldwell after a gain of about 5. Well, working on the right side this time, behind Sammy Kraus and Marissa Akinsai. Nonetheless, a good push. Over on the right side, a 2nd and 5 upcoming. Plenty of time for the Vixen, but the bigger question, can they slow down this War running game? Kelly from the pistol. Straight drop. Looking right, completes to Radford. Radford has the first down into War territory, down to the 37-yard line. Brought down by Ibarra and Williams. Moves the chains. Radford, one of the players that was with the Vixen along with Kelly when these teams met last back in 2023. A lot of turnover, certainly in a couple of years since then, especially in the running game, where they were led by Sarah Roche when they met back in 2023. Now it's Rhodes, and the drop for Lundberg brings up a 3rd down and 7. Call it a long 6 from the War 34. And again, I think from this position, we're talking about 2 plays for the Vixen on a 3rd and 6. War showing blitz, quick throw over the middle, incomplete. Looking for Radford. Brings up a 4th down. Kelly gonna head over to the sidelines, but just for a brief conference with Connor Lewis, no question. But that Vixen will line up here on 4th down to go for it from the War 34. 10:41 remaining in the 4th quarter. Must conversion here for the Vixen. Certainly if they turn it over here, run the risk of falling further behind against a War offense that's rolling downhill. Play action. Just flicks it out, finds Anderson. Anderson looking for a Lundberg block, tiptoeing the near sideline. Appears to have enough for the 1st down. This is some kind of play from Kelly, who turns around, and I believe it's Sparkle Doucette. Yeah, it's Doucette coming on the blitz. That is an unbelievable check down from Kelly, with Doucette coming in largely unblocked. And Doucette, who has turned into a tremendous playmaker for this War defense, as Anderson hobbling off, favoring that right arm, it looks like. But the big catch and conversion on 4th down. But Doucette had a chance for the sack. Comes in 2nd on the team with 4.5 sacks on the season. Nearly had another one there, but Kelly just gets it out, continues the drive. Kuplick on the right side for a gain of about 5. They'll spot it at the 20, where it'll leave a 2nd down and 4. So give Kuplick 6 yards. Clock moving as we wind down toward 10 minutes to go here in the ball game. War leading it by 9, 44-35. Kuplick still in the backfield. Radford in the slot on the right. Kelly looking left, looking for Dvorak on the slant. Runs through a tackle. She's in for a touchdown. Kelly to Dvorak. And the Vixen back within 3, 44-41. For Dvorak, just her 2nd touchdown reception on the season. As the Vixen return the favor. Well, we've seen the War use that quick slant to great effect here tonight with Alyssa Williams. And that time, it's the Vixen running it as Dvorak able to get inside bring in that ball, break the tackle, in for the touchdown. And now they'll line up to go for two. Quick throw in the flat. And just short. They're going to come up a little short. Well, I'm not sure I completely follow that one. Down 3, now they go for 2. So that leaves it at 44-41. 9:38 remaining in the fourth quarter. You are watching Cali War Football, the Women's Football Alliance, here on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Well, how do you like it if you're the Vixen defense? 44-41. A little trouble for Williams over on the far sideline now. Just has to head out of bounds shy of the 30-yard line. Well, this is about as long a field as we've seen. As Williams gets it back to the 29, and that's where the war will start. But a week ago, it was a matchup with the St. Louis Slam going against Jamie Gall and the high-flying aerial attack of the Slam, going with 21 touchdowns on the season, no interceptions. And now this week, you get almost the polar opposite. And the premier running game in the WFA. Brianna Barrett, this outstanding war offense that rolled up almost 500 yards on the ground in a victory last week. So you're getting all styles. Barrett on the inside handoff, nonetheless finds a little room, gets it out to the 35, makes something out of nothing, picking up 6 yards and leaving a 2nd down and 4. Finally, Dana Gustafson able to get the stop, but Barrett gets all the way to the 36, give her 7 yards, leaves a 2nd down and 3. Wiggins with Barron in the offset eye. Receivers left and right. The pitch to Barrett, running left, able to get the corner, has the 1st down. Lowers the shoulder as she heads out of bounds, working against Caitlin Hove. I love to see that. That's a little shades of Walter Payton right there. Heading out of bounds, but watch that. That's from the School of Sweetness right there. Don't let them hit you. You make sure you hit them. And Barrett has the 1st down. Out to the War 43. And a fresh set of downs. 8:38 and counting. Remaining in the 4th quarter. Washington, good push on the right side. Has the 1st down. Washington into Vixen territory to the 44. 14 yards for Nori Washington. And the War on the move, and now you have the feeling that that War offensive line is starting to wear down. That front line for the Vixen, who have spent an awful lot of time trying to chase down Brianna Barrett here tonight. Under 8 to go. 1st down, Barrett on the counter. Inside the 40, down to the 35, very near the 1st down marker again. Well, I wonder just how close Brianna Barrett is getting to that 200-yard mark. She has gone over 200, well over 200, each of the last 2 games, and has piled up some yardage again A Vixen player down with 7:37 remaining in the fourth quarter in the war, up 44-41. Hannah Eckhart up and heading off the field under her own power, always a good sign. First down, or I should say second and under a yard for the war. From the Vixen 35, high snap, Washington bounces it to the outside, has the first down, flags are down in the war backfield. Let's see if this one's coming back. Washington was able to power down to the 27-yard line, easily picking up the first down, but likely all for naught. Let's see if this one's going to be coming back. So the penalties continue certainly to favor the Vixen here in this one. War have been decidedly more penalized in this one here tonight. And once again, setting themselves back instead of a first down. It now becomes 2nd and 11. Back at their own 45. Washington remains the tailback in the I formation. Barrett on the counter, runs through a tackle. Barrett with a head of steam inside the 30 and brought down just shy of the 25. Gustafson able to bring Barrett down. She was the last line. If Barrett gets through here, she's gone once again. But a good sure tackle from Dana Gustafson. Nonetheless, Barrett finds more running room and another first down. And a reminder, we are not far from LAX. You don't get that kind of shot of a plane unless you are in the area. Washington on the right side with some room again, bouncing off a couple of tackles, twisting forward down to the 15-yard line. Another first down for Nori Washington. And the war looking to go up 2 scores once again. Time beginning to work against the Vixen as we wind down under 6 minutes to go. Not quite a knockout blow here if the war can punch it in, but inching ever closer as they would go back up a couple of scores. Barrett on the counter. Barrett through a hole. She's got another touchdown. Brianna Barrett, 15 yards. 3rd touchdown tonight for Barrett, along with a return touchdown. And Barrett now up over 20 touchdowns on the season. What a year for Brianna Barrett. And again, comes from a basketball background. Former D1 basketball player at USC. Coming to football, making it look like she's been playing her whole life. Quick throw, incomplete. They wanted Williams again working back over the middle, but the touchdown for Barrett nonetheless makes it 2 scores at 50-41. Wiggins didn't quite have this one. And the throw offline. But even without the 2-point conversion, It's still 2 scores, a 50-41 lead, and you go back to the interesting decision to go for 2 on the last Vixen touchdown. And obviously easy up here in retrospect to talk about how things work out, but the point after would have still had this at 1 score at 50-42. But still time for the Vixen. 5:41 is an awful lot of time on the clock. But again, as we've talked about, time is certainly an enemy at this point for the Vixen, but arguably the war running game is still the bigger problem. Can't seem to slow down this running attack. Partial squib from Nunez. This one gonna head out of bounds at midfield. And without Brianna Barrett in the return game, I suspect that the Vixen are going to be happy to take the ball. Yeah, and we are getting a good point here that could have still been a live football as well. It went out of bounds rather quickly, but you saw them giving chase. So it nearly, I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it almost worked out really well. But indeed, the Vixen going to, well, are they going to? No, they're going to take the football, as one would expect. Going to eschew the opportunity to have the war kick it again, and instead they'll start with very good field position at the Cali 45-yard line, but they need to punch it in quickly. Down 50-41, Kelly with Rhodes back in the game in the deep I. Rhodes running right at the 40, heads out of bounds at the 37. 8 yards for Shy Rhodes. Of course, when we learned about the players from the 2 teams, of course, one of the things always interested to know is what sports are in their background, as we so often talked about. And with Shy Rhodes, we got one that we hadn't heard too often, hockey. So that was a new one. Of course, it is a team from Minnesota, so not entirely out of left field. But Shy with a background playing some hockey. Now moving to football off the back foot, and Robinson nearly had the interception. That's a good job by Sam Anderson back in the game. Functioning as a defender, as you saw Antoinette Frazier closing in, and Anderson coming back to get that ball, but also keep it away from Jamie Robinson, who's got such a nose for the football. As it turns out, in any event, there is a flag down on the play, and the penalty going to go against the war. This is going to take it all the way down inside the 25. This will move it down to the 22. So the 15-yard penalty. And I don't know, I don't think it was on Jamie Robinson. It didn't look like there was much on the defensive play, but I did see Antoinette Borders-Frazier closing in on Kelly, and you wonder if maybe that was a late hit or a hit on the quarterback that came late, as Borders-Frazier was almost there. In any event, the 15-yard penalty moves it to the 22. Kuplick running left. Now cuts it back, lowers the shoulder inside the 15, down to the 14. Good hard running from Kuplick once again. And actually, let's correct it very quickly. They're down inside the 10. This is down to the 9. And the Vixen want to move quickly on a 2nd and short. Kelly back to Kuplick, running right this time. Kuplick at the 5, bounces off a tackle. Flags are down. She's in for her 4th rushing touchdown, but hold everything. Let's see if this one will count, as flags did come in. And once again, Kuplick finding all kinds of running room, working behind that Vixen offensive line that has had an outstanding game. And the call against Cali, this will be declined. Kuplick has her 4th rushing touchdown tonight. And the Vixen, just that quickly, with still a lot of time, back within 3 at 50-47. Now they will line up to go for the extra point. And I believe it's Michaela Deriskova who is going to attempt the extra point. I'm trying to verify on the uniform number, but I did see Michaela Deriskova working pregame, and the extra point is up and good. Flags are down once again, but still an awful lot of time. Boy, I'll tell you, if the Vixen can find a way to get a stop, this could get interesting in a hurry. We're already there. But an awful lot of pressure amped up on this War offense that seemingly needs to keep putting points on the board. High-scoring ball game, 50-48. Well, Mike, did you have the over at 98.5? It's a tough call. Yeah, Mike telling me now he probably would have taken the over, but yeah, sure, he says that now. 4:25 remaining. And the Vixen back within 2. Well, once again, the War, I imagine, would be happy to just run some time off the clock, even ultimately run this one out. But both these offenses have been so good that the points just keep coming. It's not even running the clock. So they'll tee it up from midfield. And let's see what they do here. Of course, earlier in this 4th quarter, we saw Brianna Barrett not only return for a touchdown, but off a ball that was sent in the direction of Alyssa Williams, but still able to get it to Brianna Barrett. Where do you go here? Short end-over-end kick near the sideline. The Vixen came away with the football. It's Caitlin Hove. They're pumped up. And again, it's a live football on the kickoff. Man, that is some kind of kick from Jocelyn Tanner. Able to pooch it to the far side, keep it in play as Hove streaking down that far side. Able to take it on the generous hop. And now with 4:22 remaining, the Vixen have it back trailing by 2. Neither team has had a lot of trouble scoring, but if they can even get down into the red zone, a field goal would even give them the lead. Kelly looking deep over the middle, caught near the goal line, touchdown Vixen. Dvorak, there is a flag down. And it's against Cali. So it's going to count. Well, this is a great play call. Got to believe that the Cali War defense is expecting in that situation that they're going to see a running play. And instead, how about the call? From that Vixen sideline, they put the ball in the hands of EK. And Aaron Kelly delivers a strike, finding Dvorak for her 2nd touchdown reception of the game. Again, the flag against Cali. They were offsides. You see Sanfrey Roberson, another All-American in this War defensive backfield, and she will need some help heading to the sideline. An injury, it looks like, to that left leg, and we won't speculate any further than that. Again, working one-on-one against Dvorak, and Dvorak goes up to get it. Well, the decidedly good news, if you're the Cali War, is this came quickly. And there is an awful lot of time. 4:18, that's plenty of time for a War offense that has put 50 points on the board, but now is down 54-50 and down for the first time since the very early going, when the Vixen took a 7-0 lead early in the first quarter. And the Vixen going to line up to go for two. And this is potentially a big play, because if the Vixen can go up 6, the War do not kick extra points. Kuplik cut down just short of the line. She didn't get in. Kenesha Allen holds her up, and yeah, it's Jamie Robinson. Well, that's a truck job from Jamie Robinson, as it's Allen who initially is able to hold up Kuplik, who looks like she's going to get in, and then Robinson. That's a big-time hit. And when you can reverse the direction of Paige Kuplik like that, you've got some strength. And again, that's a big play, as the War not going to kick an extra point in any situation. So obviously it's no done deal to pick up a 2-point conversion. So a 6-point lead would have certainly given the Vixen an extra chance. Now a touchdown in any form will do it for Cali, and will give them the lead once again. Short kick once again off of Robinson. It's still loose. The Vixen might have it. They will unpile. They're saying they do, and they do have it. Well, this is just a brutal stretch for the War. And you have to wonder at some level, maybe this was the strategy throughout. It's Hyber, I believe, that came away from the football, came away with the football. 4:18 remaining. Excuse me. Let's correct the time very quickly. It's 3:41 remaining. As I believe it's Tanner that's doing the kicking off, Jocelyn Tanner, and if so, there is your perhaps overlooked player of the game, judging by the way that this late fourth quarter has gone. Because arguably two of the biggest plays in the entire game have taken place on special teams here down the stretch, as these kickoffs are wreaking havoc for this War special teams unit. Cannot get the football back for their offense, and now the Vixen can look to extend on the lead. Kuplik running left in the open field again. Kuplik down the far sideline, inside the 25, finally forced out of bounds. Paige Kuplik recovering from the massive hit that she took on the 2-point conversion. She's bounced back. She's fine. Meanwhile, 2 Cali War players are down back near midfield. We will step aside with 3:47 remaining in the ball game, and the Vixen on the move, leading it by 4. It's Cali War football, the Women's Football Alliance on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Jamie Robinson heading off for the War, and that is significant with the ball at the 16-yard line. The War lose one of their principal run defenders as the Vixen right now move into the red zone with a chance to go up 2 scores for the first time tonight and go a long way toward perhaps putting this one away. Delayed handoff to Kuplick on the left side. Tripped up, I should say, after a gain of about 5. Gets it down to the 11, second down. Clock moving, but another War player down. Don't have a number yet. We'll stop the clock with 3:32 remaining in the fourth quarter, and the Vixen on the doorstep now have it down to the War 11. A 2nd and 5. Let's keep it here. As the injured War player is up and heading off, and it looks to be Dorothy Day, defensive lineman out of Riverside. Layla Rivers will come on. 2nd down and 5. They'll wind the clock. Vixen not in any particular hurry. And now it's the War battling both the clock and an offense on a roll. For much of this game, we've been talking about the Vixen defense being in exactly that spot. 2nd and 5 from the 11. Kuplick again in the pistol. Some movement. Could be a free play for Kelly. Heaves into the end zone looking for Dvorak again. Williams with the excellent coverage. The pass incomplete, but this could be 5 more yards coming, and it will be for the Vixen. Another penalty on the War, who continue to do themselves no favors with penalties here tonight. This will take it down to the 6, and it will give the Vixen a 1st and goal. They need medical support. Someone passed out.
Vixen 54.
So 2:49 remaining in the fourth quarter. Clock stopped after the penalty. Kuplick in the pistol formation, receivers left and right. 1st and goal for the Vixen. Kuplick with some room, little hesitation, now in for the touchdown. Paige Kuplick pushes the lead to 10. 5 rushing touchdowns tonight. $60-50. What a fourth quarter. For the Vixen. They'll line up the extra point. It's up and good. Largest lead tonight for the Vixen. 61-50, 2:44 remaining in the ball game. You're watching Cali War football on SoCalCollegeSports.com. What a comeback for the Vixen. Leading at 61-50. They'll try the short kick once again. This will take a bounce. This one is taken by Smitty Jones. We'll take it up to the 44. But give the Vixen some credit. Came up with a plan that definitely worked down the stretch. Those short pooch kickoffs giving the War all kinds of trouble. And finally, the War offense gets the ball back, but now down 11 with 2:37 remaining in the ball game. Well, both teams with their full complement of timeouts. So the War have all 3 timeouts. But some work to do. Now down a couple of scores, and Wigan's going to look to throw. Looking for Williams. It's incomplete. Tanner had the coverage. Leaves a second down and 10. Well, obviously there's some risk for the War to continue to run the football, as the clock will move if you fail to pick up a first down. But you go back to the victory over the Energy even last week, and it was under 100 yards passing for the War, who did almost all of their damage on the ground. And they are going to put the ball in the hands of Barrett. Barrett veering back to the right, slips out of a couple of tackles. Barrett on the run again, through a tackle from Hove, down the sideline and in for a touchdown. Brianna Barrett. Hold everything. 2:18 still on the clock. Getting a block downfield, and it was Caitlin Hove who had the last shot, but could not wrap up Brianna Barrett, who can. It's been done about once tonight. And the War get exactly what they need. A quick score. And Washington in the backfield. They'll line up to go for 2. It's Barrett, back to the left, wants to go back right, but stood up short of the line. Flugel drags Barrett down. So the War down 5, but of more import, they're back within 1 score, but they need to find a way to get the football back. And so far, for these 2 teams, the only way it would seem to get the football back tonight is to give up a score. And that's not going to work. You got to give both teams some credit as well tonight. The War have done a great job taking care of the football. Just the 1 fumble tonight before the trouble on kick receive here late in the 4th quarter. And the Vixen turned it over 3 times in the first half, but have picked it up, and no turnovers in the second half. Done a great job taking care of the football and denying the War any opportunity to put together scores and race out to any kind of lead. End over end kick. Chased down at the 27 and taking no chances. Nikki Hyber just going to fall on it. Smart decision. And we'll see Aaron Kelly and the Vixen offense with 2:17 remaining here in the 4th quarter. And again, Cali with all 3 timeouts. So the Vixen are going to need to move the football. At least 2 first downs to close this one out. So Kuplick will remain in the backfield. First down carry. Komplick hit behind the line. Brought down for a loss on the play. Allen the first to get there. Antoinette Borders Frazier gets in to finish it off. But this starts with good anticipation, from Kenesha Moore, who gets into the backfield. Meanwhile, we do have whistles. The clock has stopped 1:59, so at the 2-minute warning. So the War did not take a timeout. Well, yeah, it is. No, they have not taken a timeout. So it's still showing 3. I think it might have just gone down to the 2-minute warning. So a second and long when we come back. Vixen on top 61-56, Cali War football. Women's Football Alliance, SoCalCollegeSports.com. Second down and 13 after the 3-yard loss for Komplick on the first down carry. War crowding the line, snap to Kelly. Quick pitch to Dvorak. In some trouble in the backfield, now able to cut it back and at least get back near the original line of scrimmage. Did pick up about 3 yards, leaves a 3rd down and 10. War going to take their first charge timeout. Still 1:46 remaining in the ball game and a 3rd and 10 upcoming for the Vixen. Third and 10 for the Vixen, and the spot certainly precarious. If they fail to pick up a first down here, still an awful lot of time for the War. Still have 2 timeouts, but they need to come up with the stop here. Kelly from the pistol. See the hard count from Kelly trying to draw the War off. They don't go. Komplick on the carry, running right, hit at the line, no gain on the play. Meanwhile, a War player is down after the play again. First one to get there. I believe it's Jeanette Jimenez from her defensive end spot. It brings up a 4th and long, and again, they're still looking at Jeanette Jimenez. The clock is stopped, and unless the Vixen want to contemplate going for it here, which would be a risk of epic proportions, it would appear that the War are going to get the ball back here. And still a lot of time, down 5, needing one more score. Paging Brianna Barrett. We'll step aside from Playa del Rey. It's Cali War football, the Women's Football Alliance, here on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Well, the Vixen offense, Vixen special teams have put together a remarkable fourth quarter to give themselves a chance here in the latter stages. But perhaps predictably, it is the Vixen defense that will have to put this one away if they are to come here to Playa del Rey and get the road win and break this 4-game win streak for the Cali War. And for the War, one more chance for Brianna Barrett and the spectacular War offense to pull out a victory. Long kick, it gets away from Barrett, who does come back to get it at the 25, hit and brought down at the 32. So it'll be a relatively long field. 1:25 remaining, and the War do have 2 timeouts. Well, how do you play it if you're Jason Grant? For so long, Brianna Barrett was a staple in the passing game, still the leading receiver for the War, but as this season has worn on, she has solidified her role as the offensive leader, standout playmaker for this War team in the running game. And now the clock is an enemy for the War. Wiggins going to look to throw. Heaves the near side. Barrett going up with one hand, can't make the catch. Second down and 10. 1:18. Still on the clock.
Yeah.
Two timeouts for the War. Football resting at the Cali War 32-yard line.
because of the injury.
Marissa Cheney split out to the left. Alyssa Williams split out to the right. Now Allen and Washington in the backfield. Barrett in the slot, gets the handoff, looking to cut it back. Barrett again finds some running room. Barrett through a hole in a foot race at the 30, 25, 20, pushes off. She's at the 10, down to the 2-yard line. Clock moving, but the War able to stop it with the timeout. Again, able to find her way through traffic, warding off Hove to pick up another 15 or 20 yards. Give Caitlin Hove some credit. Did chase her down and bring her down at the 1-yard line. 67 yards. She's gone 240 plus for 2 weeks in a row. She almost certainly has eclipsed that number once again. And with just over a minute remaining, it's the War who are on the doorstep looking for the lead once again. Timeout from Playa del Rey. It's the Women's Football Alliance on SoCalCollegeSports.com. The War have it at the 1. Norrie Washington in the pistol formation. Jamie Robinson on the left side. Jumbo package for the War on a 1st and goal. They give to Washington. Washington will get in for the touchdown. War back in front, but 57 seconds still on the clock for the Vixen, and now a big 2-point conversion coming. The War need this one to go up 3. Otherwise, a field goal for the Vixen could potentially win it. And listen, 123 points on the board, 57 seconds. Here tonight, that's an eternity. So big conversion coming. Washington remains in the pistol. Keep an eye on Barrett on the right side. They go to Barrett on the handoff, and Barrett in for the 2-point conversion. Back to the bread and butter play as Barrett takes the handoff on the end around but cuts it back. And if you don't get her right on the handoff, no chance. 64-61. Well, are we heading for overtime? 54 seconds, and for the Vixen, all 3 timeouts. One more look at the big run. Barrett with the strength. Holding off Hove. Getting it all the way down to the 1. What a performance. 64-61. Well, it was a 3-point win back in 2023 in Adena. Are the War going to return the favor? They lead it by 3. Under a minute to go. Nunez tees it up. Rhodes back deep. End over end kick. Still down. Picked up by Hove. Hove all the way around to the left side. Slips a tackle at the 40. She's into war territory at the 47-yard line. Again, a 3 would tie it.
Yeah, it's 45 seconds.
Don't know what kind of range we're talking about here, presumably, for Michaela Deriskova. But also, don't sleep on a touchdown. No shortage of big plays here tonight. Will it be Kuplik in the backfield, who has 5 rushing touchdowns? Also seen a lot of shy roads. Or are they going to put the ball in the hands of their veteran signal caller, Aaron Kelly? Meanwhile, nothing changes at LAX. They don't know what's going on here. 45 seconds. Kelly from the pistol. Quick throw, it's incomplete. Short on the throw, looking for Dvorak. Might not have done the Vixen a whole lot of good, as Dvorak was still in bounds. Ibarra was closing quickly. That might have cost them more time than it was really worth. Likely would have been just a modest gain. See if we see something on the order of a skinny post. Saw that work for both Radford and Anderson. Big plays have come more over the middle. And of course, the Vixen can work the whole field with all 3 timeouts remaining. Radford in the slot on the left. They overload the far side. Kelly has the snap, good protection. Looking for Anderson, in the pass incomplete. Quickly 3rd and 10. 38.7 remaining.
It'll be 3rd down and 10 for Vixen.
War defense looking for the stop. Kelly at the line. As the snap, they'll try Kuplik on the carry. Kuplik with some room on the right side has the first down. Down to the 35. They'll stop the clock to move the chains. 30.5. Got to figure to even consider a field goal, they would need at least 20, 25 more yards. Kuplik running left. Finds some running room. Robinson closes quickly. Kuplik still struggling down to the 28-yard line, but that second effort from Kuplik cost the Vixen precious seconds, down to 15 seconds before they take the timeout. Well, it's hard running the football. You're so programmed. Think about churning your legs, keeping forward momentum. Meanwhile, the officials are huddled up. I don't see a flag. Let's wait and see what the call is. They want to put 2 seconds on the clock. So that would take it to 17 seconds. It's a 2nd and 3 from the Cali 28. 17 seconds. We're talking, even with the timeouts, maybe a couple of plays. They'll put it at the 29. So 2nd and a long 3. Scoreboard showing the Vixen still have all 3 timeouts, but really doesn't matter at this point. Down to 17 seconds. The best news for the Vixen is with those timeouts, they certainly can still work the middle of the field. But time perhaps for a couple of more plays. Kelly, deep drop, pop flies the far side, catch is made on that far sideline by Radford. Brianna Barrett on the coverage is signaling that Radford was out of bounds, and it looked like she was. Let's watch here. As they have Barrett now playing both ways. Let's watch. We'll have a great look at it here. And yeah, I don't think there's any question. It's hard to tell from that angle, but it looked like Radford was working that far sideline. Smitty Jones, Brianna Barrett on the coverage. Still 10.3 seconds. One more look, and it'll be a little harder to tell from this angle, but yeah, I don't think there's any question, but out of bounds. Yeah, there's a great look at it. See over there, Brianna Barrett making the call. Well, why not? She's done everything else.
I think she was out of bounds.
So 10 seconds on the clock. And now the options becoming ever more limited for the Vixen. Running out of time. That scoreboard is correct. 64-61. The War on top by 3. Well, there is certainly a scenario where these two teams could meet again in the postseason. This, the final regular season game for the War. If this score holds, they'll finish at 5-1, would seem almost assured of being the second seed in the National Division. And right now, the Vixen are in the third spot. I'm getting the word that we're going to have a zoomed-in look. Again, hard to tell from this angle. But I don't think there's much question about the call. Yep. That left foot you could see down, and then as she makes the catch, the right foot comes down out as well. That's a great job, guys. So the Vixen, if this score holds, will drop to 2-3 on the season. But again, the Massey rating holds precedence in the playoff seeds. And let's bring it back live, 10 seconds. Kelly, straight drop, looking right, fires it deep, incomplete. That only took about 4 or 5 seconds. Looking for Radford, now down to 5.9. So again, this, in terms of strength of schedule, and the result seems unlikely to hurt the Vixen much, but it does raise the stakes for the Vixen, who are back in action next Saturday night, taking on a Nebraska Pride team that entered play tonight at 3-1, having won their last 3 games. And that perhaps makes this, or I should say makes next week, a potential must-win for the Vixen, even with the strength of schedule. If they somehow were to drop that game next week and finish the season at 2-4, would the Massey rating be enough for the Vixen to still get into the playoffs? That's what remains to be seen. Timeout on the field, 5.9 remaining. The War trying to close it out, leading at 64-61. It's the Women's Football Alliance on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Final play from Playa del Rey from the 29. Kelly with receivers left and right. Straight drop. Now flush from the pocket. Kelly still looking. Fires it deep. It's incomplete. And the War survive. They'll finish the season at 5-1, having won their last 5, and will look ahead to the postseason. What an effort from the Vixen, who come to California and come up just a little short. 64-61, the War with the win. The Vixen dropped to 2-3. They're back in action next Saturday night when they'll take on the Nebraska Pride in one that grows even greater in importance for the Vixen, who now sit at 2-3 on the season in a crowded WFA Pro Division. That'll wrap up our coverage here tonight from Playa del Rey. The War, 64-61 with the win over the Vixen. Thanks so much for joining us. So long, everybody.